Welcome. I'm Pat Barrett at Women's Radio 2. And today, once again, we're going to have a wonderful discussion with Christine Baumgartner, our relationship guru. And today, we're going to talk about why are we so crabby sometimes? And why do we say things the way we do? And then why do we wonder why people take it amiss? So that's kind of, we started off with men speak in one way and women speak in another. And I do think that that's true. But it really also boils down to how we were raised and what we think we can do and so forth. But we're changing a lot of those things as we continue to grow ourselves up. So it's really my pleasure to welcome Christine back to Women's Radio 2. Hi, Christine.
Hi, Pat. It's always such a pleasure to talk about us growing ourselves up. I think that's a perfect way to encapsulate that when we grow up and we stop acting like we're 12 or 8 or 2, because that's often what brings out that crabby part of us that we were talking about. So for the people a lot in our age group, I think some of our age group has raised children, or our children have raised children to speak their minds a little more than we were taught to speak our minds. I still don't know how diplomatically people are speaking their minds. At least they're speaking their minds more. Because generally the way said you were raised in the South. I was raised in Southern California, but it's not the same as the South that you were raised in.
I don't think so.
I was still raised in the same kind of thoughts that you were saying, just not quite as extreme, as a girl, to be nice and not make waves, don't upset the other people, especially the other half of the population, because they're bigger and stronger than us, to not make people mad, not make people not like you. So what we learned very effortlessly, because we were taught it all the time, was to not speak directly about what we needed and wanted, and to even figure out what we needed and wanted. And we would hint and do innuendos and be subtle, which other women understood completely. I mean, you could say, gosh, did you see those beautiful flowers in the neighbor's yard? And our friend would go, oh yeah, I bet you would like those, huh? So you say, do you see the beautiful flowers next door to your special guy? And he goes, yeah, nice flowers. He will never hear that you would like flowers. He will never hear that you'd like flowers in your yard or in a vase in
That
your
was
house.
way too subtle.
Way too subtle. So over time, when we women get frustrated that we keep hinting and we think we're being very direct because all the other women understand, but the men don't. And the men keep not doing what we want them to do. And we think they're choosing not to do what we want them to do. But I'll tell you, high 90%, they have no idea what you want them to do.
Unless you say it directly.
Yes. So then over time, what happens is we've felt dismissed, disrespected, not cared about, not listened to. We're not getting our needs met. We feel ignored. And all that negativity and anger, real negativity, real anger, this is real feelings, fill us up. And when we finally have to push back against that barrier of not speaking our minds and saying things in the nicest way, we screech and are crabby and are loud and cry and get really angry.
Or snide.
Very snide. We're excellent at rolling our eyes and at the same time. Without even words coming out, because that's pretty powerful when we do that to a guy. He knows he's in big trouble and he doesn't know why. 1, and 2, he has no idea what to do about it. He has no idea how to fix it now or what to do to have this not happen again before.
And then sometimes we say things in a way like, couldn't you just do so and so? I blah 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 blah. And then the guy comes back because he feels like you've just told him he's not a good husband, he's not a good father, he's not a good provider, and he goes, well, I work 80 hours a week, what do you expect?
I
And
bring home a paycheck every day. I don't go out carousing with the guys. I don't have affairs.
but he doesn't necessarily say that. So he's trying to justify in return the barb you put out, so to speak. So you have to get to a place where you can say, wow, I feel so overwhelmed today having to do this and this. Would you have time to help me do this?
Mhm.
And I'd really appreciate it. So using some of your techniques, you know, I would really appreciate it, if you could make just a little extra time to help me with this or whatever.
Yep.
And then you've given him the opportunity then to please you as you like to say. And then you can do your job and say, I really appreciate your jumping in or whatever.
Excellent. I love hearing my words come back. You did a
I
perfect
know, I thought you
job.
would.
Because we think they should just know, because we just know. Because the other part that happens is we start saying, and really honestly feel this way, you never do, or you always do. And it's always negative. You never do blah, 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 or you always do this other thing that I really don't like. And why do you even do that? So, an interesting way to look at it is, and I've had women go, when I've said this, because we're often giving ourselves a hard time in our head. If we were prettier, nicer, smarter, taller, skinnier, we'd have a better life, we'd have a better husband, we'd have better friends.
You'd have better conversations.
Yes. So the better that we're comparing ourselves to, I'm going to quote Alison Armstrong and give her credit, is the ideal woman, of which there's nobody. There's nobody out there that is this ideal woman that we're trying to balance ourselves against, to compare ourselves with. Nobody. There's nobody out there that's all the things we think we should be in our heads that we give ourselves grief about. The thing that men have a little ahead of us in this is when they compare themselves to a better man. So they use real examples. That guy's a really good father. Or look how successful he is in his business. How would I do more of that? But they take real people to we've got this thing, this ideal woman that's nothing. It's an avatar. It's an imagination. There's nothing reality. So we could never live up to it. A man has something
Where do we get
maybe
that from? Where does that come from?
from eons of women teaching us about the ideal woman.
Thank you, Christine.
Eons. And the other thing we do besides that we compare us to the ideal women, we compare men to them. Why don't they just know this? Why don't they just know to take out the trash? Why don't they just know that this pisses me off? If they loved me enough, they would just know. So not only are we comparing ourselves unrealistically to this unrealistic idol,
Imaginary person.
we compare men to that until decide that they're terrible, awful people because they're not like the ideal woman. And we're not like the ideal women. So can you imagine how hard that is on all of us?
Yes.
Where at least when a man's comparing himself, he's using very realistic traits and comparing himself to people that are actually doing something that they would like to do better. So if we could realize this and stop giving ourselves such a hard time and be more realistic about, well, I'm a human being and how much could I really get done in a day? And look at my body gets up every day and it works really hard for me, to stop putting ourselves down so much. The other reason that we get to that breaking point is we've now had too much of not enough, is usually what it is. Not enough attention, not enough sleep, not enough food, not enough time, not enough attention, not enough time with our friends, not enough time alone. So when we
Mhm.
think about the categories of where would you need more? What would be make you happier? What would make your life better if you had a little more time to yourself, or a little less hard things around your house, or a little more affection from the person that's significant in your life? And then you said, how could I get that? Maybe I could ask for it in a really nice way. Maybe I could do stuff for myself that would help get me filled up in it. And then how do I ask the people around me? And then the part is that you get to assess, are they the kind of people that could give it to you or not?
Mhm.
Because I'm going to now talk about Mel Robbins, who has this wonderful book that I've now listened to twice that's called Let Them. And the whole point of the book, there's
Oh.
2 points. One is say, oh, that's who that person really is. This person can listen to me for half an hour and no more. This person is fine playing pickleball with, but she's not really fun to go to lunch with. And then stop asking them to do more than they can really do.
Mhm.
What I've now coined from a lot of people, and I'm now owning it, is you're asking them, they're a dog and you want them to be a cat, which we all know cannot happen. So when you let them be who they are over there, and then you say, well, if I let me, how can I relate to them or not? Can I be with somebody that's like that? Because I'm going to admit this is how they are. I'm going to stop pretending there's something different. I'm going to stop wishing they were different. I'm stop believing that if I was more of something, they would now be more of something.
Right.
This is who they are. Accept who they are. Because as much as we'd like people to accept us, it's really helpful if we start out accepting them. And then we accept, I don't like being around somebody like that. Even if they're my blood relative, I don't like being around them. Or I need limited time with them. I have a client, I was talking to them, and she's actually going away with her 3 sisters. And one she's really close with, one sort of, and one not at all. So we talked about how when the third one that's hard starts doing her thing, go for a walk.
Mhm.
She likes where she's going to be and she's going to like going for a walk. Just go for a walk. Come back when she's done with her tirade.
Uh,
Since you like being with the other 2 people and you really want to go do this thing, this is how you make it more. So you stop complaining about who she is. You go, this is who she is. And I know she's going to do this. And I'm choosing to be there. So I'm going to now figure out what to do. I'm going to go on a walk. So the more we get clear, just where we all have to start, it's where I started with my company. You learn how to be the perfect catch. So what is it that makes you upright? What is it that makes you happy? And how can you get it? How can you get it from yourself? And how can you bring people and allow people in your life that can give that to you? Time, energy, money, physical affection, mental stimulation, and stop trying to make the other people that aren't that be that.
right.
Your life will be so much better. You stop trying to make a dog a cat. When you look at dogs, people are always like, how different are men and women? Very different. Well, look at dogs and cats. Generally, there's some exceptions. There are dogs that act like cats and cats that act like, but the majority of them really know how to be a dog and really know how to be a cat. So you can't make them different. If we got better about, I can't make myself different, I can't make this other person different, can who I am be with them, how much of the time, and what sorts of things can we do together? The more clear we are about that first, which helps us be more secure. Oh, I like this part about me. Yeah, I'm not crazy about that. Is there something I could do about it? Is there some way I could temper it a little? I just need to find more people that are fine with that. And then you find people that on different areas. So what I've done with my clients, it's called dating for friends. I have these concentric circles, and in the middle is your heart. And what's the
Oh,
minimum traits somebody has to have to stand on that outside circle? So for
it's a really
me,
good point of view.
I had to do this for me because I let everybody have total access straight to my heart, and I
Right.
would get
Right.
disappointed. I'd get my feelings hurt. I'd get
Right.
frustrated because they couldn't do what I needed them to do. They really can't do it. They can't. I had a friend who couldn't be on time. We teased that the only reason she was on time for her funeral is because we were in charge of it, but she was always late. But I enjoyed having dinner with her. So I would just plan on having a great conversation with the bartender while I was waiting for her to come because I just knew she'd be late. But
Yeah.
her conversation 3 times a year was worth it to me. But I
Yes.
wouldn't go to a play or a movie or someplace that I needed to leave at a specific time because I would get really frustrated. And
So you just planned around it.
people got frustrated all the time with her about being late. I said, stop doing things that are time sensitive with her
Yes. Right.
because she's a delight to spend time with as long as you don't care what time she's going to show up. Because, oh my God, it's so inconsiderate and it's so rude. Yeah. And do you really want to spend time with her? Given this trait of hers, this is a trait she has. Can you accept it? And how much? How much limited time can you accept it? And the more I've done that in my life and the more I've watched my clients do that, it's freeing. because then we stop getting depleted. We stop getting
Right, right.
frustrated
So
and we
we
stop
hold on to
feeling
our own value and our own
and we
energy.
stop exploding because we
Right.
explode when we're empty.
Oh, that's a
When
good
we feel
thought.
dismissed, when we feel
Mhm.
disrespected, when we
Right.
are exhausting ourselves, we have to do everything. We ask for help, we allow help, we stop expecting people that are dogs to be people that are cats. It's much less exhausting.
Totally. Yes. Those are very, very good points, Christine.
Thank you.
Well, I from time to time I think we should return to this. I was thinking when you were talking how much fun it would be to actually have a group together sometime
Yeah.
and have people hear other people's points of view about those very things or own up to some of the things that haven't worked that they've figured out for themselves and thereby giving everybody the advantage of saying, wow, I've thought about that too. I just didn't know how to approach resolving the issue.
It's
So
such a human condition. And it was instilled in us before we had cognitive dis- ways of distinguishing. We didn't have enough life experience to say, does this really fit me? Is that really how I want to believe? And now that you're a grown up adult, because we're talking about that's how we started, you can decide, is this working for me? Is this belief working for me? Could I have a different belief? That might be helpful if I had a different belief. Could I believe
we're all
I could say
growing
my, yeah,
up that
yeah,
the men are still growing up. Because I think all of us were born in an era when you were born into a family, an image, you know, what your family wanted was the most important in many ways, and your friends and so forth. And so you had to be careful in order not to step outside the tribe, as it were. And then some people like me stepped way outside the tribe. And then I've been kind of winding my way, in a sense, back into certain areas of my life that I'm really enjoying now. It's
yeah.
interesting.
And finding the people who thrive with your directness, thrive with your boldness, thrive with the saying who you are in your out loud
Yes,
way.
oddly enough, I've actually had people who say they really like that quality. They'll point things out. I really love that you can blah blah whatever it is. And I'm thinking, wow, how remarkable
What
that
a
something
nice
that I
thing to
thought that wasn't so good or that people just barely tolerated or actually admired by some people who are willing to tell you so.
we really, it's being heard and seen is high value to all human beings. It's what
I think
Oprah
you're
Winfrey
right.
said after 35 years being on TV. It was the thing she heard consistently from people, being heard and seen. So
Yes.
however it is you are, finding the people that like it that way. And I will tell you, men prefer when we're direct. This is what I need. It
Well,
would
that's
make me
because
so happy.
they're largely direct.
They're much more direct.
Yeah. So,
And and I'll even go so far to say, because I've had men say it to me, if the option is not to say, not to be direct or be bitchy, they'd rather us be bitchy and be direct. They'd certainly rather us
um,
be direct and not bitchy, but the indirect drives them all crazy. It drives them crazy. Because the thing is, since we've been raised as girls to not be direct, when we say something, it's not always what we really mean. And then we're upset the other person doesn't guess what we really meant. And then the thing that when men say something that's really the truth and direct, we don't believe them because we're not always telling the
that's
truth.
right.
Yeah.
Or
And
we
they're telling
feel
the truth
or
all
we
the
feel
time.
like they're being overbearing or they're trying to tell us what to do or things of that
Or we
nature.
don't like what they say, so we don't want to believe it.
Well, I say it again. I think it would be fun to have this kind of conversation in a small group,
Mhm.
and if people were willing to step forward and do something like that, I
Yeah.
think we could arrange that, and then have and get feedback, and then develop a program where people can feel like they are getting heard, and other people then could hear how it worked when they did. I think that's useful. I love everything that we do because we have certainly a very plate of interest when it comes to relationships and
Mhm.
how they can be made better. And I can hear often the advice that I've heard you give to your clients, and I think, I should really pay attention to that. So I think that all of this is very, very useful, and I think it would be also fun to have people to come play with us.
I would love to have people come play. We have so
Yeah,
much fun, the two of us. It'd be fun to add other people, huh?
I think so. Well, we'll have to talk about how we could arrange that.
Okay.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for once again showing up and having these great conversations. And and we'll talk offline about the things that we might be able to do in the future. How's that?
You're welcome. It's my pleasure, as always.
Great. And we'll see you next week.
Okay, bye for now.
Bye bye.